You know that kind of person who knows things and says nothing. Not because they're weak, not because they don't care, but because they've already done the math, and they know that speaking is more dangerous than swallowing it. That's been you. Before, maybe not with a cartel. It's maybe not with a man whose name makes soldiers flinch, but you've known something heavy. You've carried it quietly. You've worn a normal face while something enormous lived behind your eyes. This is that story. There's a version of you that nobody fully sees. The one who walks into a room and reads it before anyone else does. Who notices the small things. The person who laughed a little too loud. The silence that arrived right after a name was mentioned. The exit that someone took just slightly too fast. You don't announce this, you just file it. You've always been the one who could be trusted with a secret, not because people asked, but because something about you made them feel like you already knew how to hold it, and you did. You held secrets the way some people hold grief. Carefully, quietly, without letting it show on your face. People called you calm. They didn't know that calm was learned. That it was the armor you built the first time you realized that reacting out loud made you a target, so you learned to go still. Now imagine that stillness is the only thing keeping you alive. Imagine it's 2019. You're somewhere in Jalisco, Mexico. Can you know a name? Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, the man who built the cartel? Jalisco Nueva Generation. The CJNG into one of the most feared criminal organizations on the planet. A man the D called the most powerful and dangerous drug lord in the world. A man with a $10 million bounty on his head, the ability to make witnesses simply disappear. And you know where he is? You've seen the vehicles, you've heard the calls. You've been trusted in the way that dangerous people trust, with information that could collapse an empire. But that trust is also a cage. Because in that world, knowing too much and saying nothing is survival, and knowing too much and saying, well, that's a different kind of story. Here's the part nobody talks about when they talk about whistleblowers and informants, and people who finally said something. They don't talk about the years before, the years of silence, the years where you watched something wrong and said nothing, and then quietly hated yourself for it at 2 a.m. when there was nothing else to do but feel it. Psychologists call this moral injury. It's not guilt exactly. It's deeper than that. It's the wound that forms when what you're doing and what you believe is, right, stop being the same thing. And here's what they don't say in plain language. Moral injury isn't weakness. It's actually the sign of a functioning conscience living inside. An impossible situation, it means you still had a self-worth protecting. The people who felt nothing. They were already gone long before you were. Your silence wasn't cowardice. Your silence was a nervous system, keeping you alive until you were ready to do the thing that terrified you most. You were loyal to people you were afraid of. You were afraid of people you respected. You told the truth to strangers while lying, to people you loved, to protect them. You felt safest alone and most exposed in the silence. You wanted out, but you didn't know who you'd be without the weight of it. Because here's the thing about living inside danger for long. Enough, it starts to feel like identity. The hypervigilance becomes personality. The secrecy becomes a skill. The numbness becomes something you mistake for strength. You were strong. You were protecting. You were protecting everyone around you, and utterly alone. You knew exactly what was happening. It had no language for what it was doing to you. There's a grief that nobody names when they talk about people like you. Not grief for the things lost, not the safety, not the sleep, not even the relationships that quietly cracked under the pressure of a secret too big to share. It's grief for the version of yourself that existed before you knew. There was a version of you that was lighter, that walked into rooms without scanning them, that trusted people before looking for reasons not to, that believed somewhere underneath everything that the world was built by people trying to do right by each other. That version of you, he didn't survive. What you survived, she couldn't. The knowing changed you. The carrying changed you. The decision you finally made when you picked up a phone and gave them everything that changed you too, not in the way movies show it, not in some blaze of heroic clarity. It happened quietly, in a bathroom, heart going fast, hands that wouldn't fully stop shaking. A voice in your head saying this is the last decision you'll ever make freely. And you made it anyway. Some people become informants because of money. Some because of fear. Some because one morning they looked in the mirror and didn't recognize what the silence had made them.